The rain was soft that morning, the kind of rain that doesn't pour, it mourns. Tiny drops fell on the black umbrella above my head, each one echoing the same thought in my heart. He's gone. I stood by the grave, staring at the wooden coffin being lowered into the ground. My husband, Adil, only 37, was gone too soon. They said it was a car accident on the highway. They said his car caught fire before anyone could save him. They said too many things, and I had no strength left to question any of them. The priest's voice faded in the distance. My fingers were trembling as I held the wet bouquet of white lilies. People whispered, "Poor Sarah, she loved him so much." They didn't know that love had died long before Adil's body did. When the funeral ended, people left one by one. Friends, relatives, his mother, his sister. I stayed. The rain stopped, but my tears didn't. I knelt beside the fresh grave. The earth smelled like wet sorrow. My heart whispered, "Goodbye, my love." And then, my phone buzzed in my hand and I almost ignored it. But something cold and strange, made me look. Unknown number. One new message. I opened it, and the words made the world around me disappear. "I'm still alive, Sarah. Trust no one." My heart slammed against my ribs. I froze. My breath turned shallow. What is this?" I whispered to Noah. The phone slipped from my hand and landed in the mud. I grabbed it again. Opened the message twice, thrice. Same words. Same chill crawling up my spine. I looked around. The cemetery was empty. Just a few crows, some swaying trees, and rows of gravestones watching silently. I wanted to believe it was a cruel prank. But no one knew the way he called me Sarah. The exact rhythm, the tone, that message. It sounded like him. My hands shook as I typed back. "Who is this? Stop it. This isn't funny." No reply. I waited. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, nothing. The silence screamed louder than the rain ever could. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every shadow in my house looked alive. Every creak sounded like a voice, and somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered, "What if it's really him?" Adil had been acting strange before his death. Late night calls, sudden trips, and the day before the accident, he told me something I didn't understand. "Sarah, if anything ever happens to me, don't believe everything they tell you." At the time, I thought it was just one of his dramatic moods. Now, it felt like a warning from beyond the grave. I picked up the photo frame from my nightstand, the one from our wedding. We looked happy there. Innocent. Before the lies, before the fear. I stared at his smile and whispered, "If you're really alive, Adil, please tell me why." But deep down, I already knew this wasn't over. This was just the beginning. The next morning, the world looked the same, but nothing felt the same. The rain had stopped, but my mind was still trapped in that cemetery. That message, "I'm still alive. Trust no one," echoed in my head like a curse. I kept checking my phone, hoping for another text. Nothing. My friend Emily stopped by to check on me. She hugged me tight. "Sarah, you haven't slept. You look pale." "I'm fine," I lied. "Fine?" She raised an eyebrow. "You buried your husband yesterday." I wanted to tell her everything, about the message, about how my heart refused to believe he was gone, but something inside me stopped. That line, "Trust no one," kept whispering in my mind. Even Emily's comforting voice felt distant, uncertain. After she left, I sat at the dining table, staring at Adil's old laptop. The police had returned it after the accident, along with a box of his belongings, his wallet, a broken watch, and that laptop. They said there was nothing suspicious, but now I wasn't. Sure, I opened it. The password was still the same, S+A=forever. My chest tightened. That was our private code from our wedding day. The desktop was almost empty. No photos, no documents, no music. Just one folder named Work. Inside it, hundreds of files with random numbers and strange symbols. I clicked one. It was a text file, and inside, only a few words. "They're watching me." I froze. I opened another file. "If something happens to me, it won't be an accident." My hands trembled. Every file said something different. Messages, fragments of thoughts, fears, maybe warnings. Whatever Adil had been doing before his death, it wasn't normal work. Then one file caught my eye. S_15. I opened it. A single address appeared on the screen for 17 Lakeview Drive, and under it, one more sentence. Don't let my mother find out. My stomach dropped. His mother, Nadia, had been strangely calm during the funeral. Too calm, and oh, tears, no trembling hands. Just a cold look, almost like she knew something I didn't. I had always tried to be close to her. But Adil's mom never liked me. She said I wasn't traditional enough, that I made her son forget his roots. And now, suddenly, she was in the middle of whatever Adil had been hiding. That night, I couldn't fight the curiosity anymore. I took my car keys and drove to 417 Lakeview Drive. The house was dark, quiet, and empty, looked abandoned. The mailbox still had Adil's name on it. My heartbeat quickened as I stepped out of the car. Every sound, the wind, a barking dog, the crunch of gravel, made me shiver. That I tried the door. Locked. Then I saw a back window slightly open. Inside was cold, dusty air, the smell of neglect. I stepped in carefully, phone flashlight trembling in my hand. The living room was bare, except for a desk and an old leather chair. Papers were scattered everywhere, and then I saw it, a photo pinned to the wall. Adil, standing with two men I had never seen before. One of them looked like a police officer. The other, like a businessman. Behind them, a signboard read, Citibank, Security Department. But Adil didn't work for any bank. He told me he was a software consultant. Why was he in this photo? I pulled out my phone to take a picture, and just as I clicked, a voice came from behind me. You shouldn't be here. I spun around, and there, in the doorway, stood Hina, Adil's sister. My blood ran cold. Hina? What are you doing here? I demanded. She looked pale, her eyes darting toward the photo wall. I could ask you the same thing, she said softly. You shouldn't have come, Sarah. You don't understand what you're getting into. What are you talking about? I snapped. Did you know about this place? About these pictures? About Adil? Stop, she shouted. Please just go home. For your own safety. Her voice cracked on the last word, and, for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Real fear. Before I could say another word, she brushed past me and tore the photo from the wall. Then she stormed out, leaving me standing there in the dark. That I ran after her. But when I reached the street, her car was already gone. I looked down at my phone. IT buzzed again. Unknown number, another message. You shouldn't have gone there. Now they know. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that message again. You shouldn't have gone there. Now they know. Who are they, and how did this unknown person know where I had gone? My heart told me to stop digging, but my mind, and maybe my love for Adil, refused to let go. To BY sunrise, I had made up my mind that if my husband was really alive, or if someone wanted me to believe he was, I needed to know why. The next morning, I drove straight to my mother-in-law's house. Nadia opened the door, looking as flawless as always, silver hair pinned neatly, eyes sharp and cold. She didn't even pretend to be grieving anymore. Sarah, she said flatly, you should have called before coming. I need to talk, I said, stepping inside. About Adil. She froze for a fraction of a second, so fast that anyone else would have missed it, but I didn't. I already told you, she said. Adil's death was an accident. Let it rest. Then why was he renting a house at Lakeview Drive? I asked. Her expression didn't change, but her fingers tightened around her teacup. I don't know what you're talking about, she replied calmly, but I could see her pulse racing under her skin. I placed my phone on the table and hit play. The recording of the text message notification tone echoed through the quiet room. I'm still alive, Sarah. Trust no one. Nadia's face turned white. Her cup slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. She looked at me, not with confusion, but with fear. Who sent that? She whispered. I don't know, I said, watching her carefully. Unless you do. She turned away, walked to the window, and said quietly, some things are better left buried, Sarah. For everyone's sake. That was IT'd, an O explanation, an O denial, just a warning, the same kind of deal had given me before he died. As I left her house, I noticed a black SUV parked across the street, tinted windows, engine running. When I started my car, the SUV pulled out too, slowly, carefully. They were following me. I turned right, then left, then into a gas station. The SUV stopped at the corner, pretending to wait. My heart pounded. I grabbed my phone and called Emily. I think someone's following me.
What?
Sarah, calm down. Where are you? I told her, and she insisted I come straight to her apartment, but as I pulled out of the gas station, the SUV suddenly sped away. Emily greeted me at the door in sweatpants, concern written all over her face. Start from the beginning. She said, S.O. I told her everything. The message, the files, the house, Hina, everything. She sat silently for a moment. Then she said, Sarah, what if a deal was working for someone dangerous? Like the government or some private agency? I laughed nervously. He was a software consultant, Emily. Not James Bond. Then how do you explain the messages? The empty laptop? The secret address? I didn't have an answer. Then Emily did something unexpected. She pulled up her own laptop and began tracing the number that had texted me a few minutes later. She frowned. That number's encrypted. It's using a private server, not local, not even national. What does that mean? It means whoever sent you that message doesn't want to be found. That night, I got another message, and name. No location. Just text. They killed me once. Don't let them do it to you. My hands trembled so hard the phone almost slipped. My breath came in short gasps. Was a deal warning me? Or was someone trying to be him? I called Hina. No answer. Then I called Nadia. Straight to voicemail. And then, as if on cue, a new message appeared. Stop calling them. They're not who you think they are. That was the moment I realized whoever was behind this knew everything where I went, who I called. Even what I felt, I wasn't just being watched, I was being hunted. The next morning, I drove to the police station, desperate for help, but when I explained the situation, the officer looked bored. Ma'am, we've already closed your husband's case. It was a confirmed accident. Then explain these messages. I snapped, slamming my phone on the table. He glanced at it, then smirked. Looks like a scam. Probably someone trying to mess with you. Before I could argue, another officer entered the room. Tall, calm, and oddly familiar. His name tag read, Officer Ryan Cole. He looked straight at me and said, Mrs. Adil, please go home. We'll handle this. There was something in his tone. Not concern, not authority, something darker. Almost like warning. As I turned to leave, I noticed something on his desk, a photograph, him shaking hands with Adil. My world stopped. That night, I sat in my car outside the police station, heart pounding that I waited until Ryan Cole left for the night, then followed him. Just like the SUV had followed me, he drove to a quiet industrial area, parked behind a warehouse, and went inside. I waited 5 minutes, then got out. Inside the warehouse, the air smelled of oil and rust. Dim lights flickered, and then, in the far corner, I saw something that made me gasp. A wall covered in photos. Photos of me, my house, my car, even one from the funeral, and at the center, taped in bold letters, was a note. Target, Sarah Adil. Status, active. My knees went weak. I stumbled backward, knocking over a metal shelf. The sound echoed, then footsteps. Who's there? A man shouted, and I ran through the side door into the cold night, heart pounding like thunder. I didn't stop driving until I was miles away. I had one thought burning in my mind. If Adil was alive, he wasn't just hiding, he was running from something big. And now, so was I. I didn't remember how long I'd been driving that night. All I knew was that I couldn't go home. Every streetlight felt like an eye watching me. Every car behind me looked like a threat. Finally, I stopped at an old motel on the edge of town. IT was one of those places where no one asks questions, and that's exactly what I needed. Inside, the air smelled like cigarettes and loneliness. I dropped my bag, locked the door 3 times, and collapsed on the bed. My phone buzzed again, a new message that I hesitated, terrified, but opened it anyway. If you want answers, come alone. Pier 17. Midnight. No named, and explanation. Just another riddle. My instinct screamed no, but my heart whispered go. Midnight at Pier 17 was colder than I expected. The water was black and restless, whispering against the docks. The city lights shimmered in the distance, but here, it felt like another world. I stood there, hugging myself, scanning the darkness. N01, then footsteps, soft, hesitant. Getting closer, a man stepped out from behind a shipping container, tall, hooded, face hidden in shadows. "Who are you?" I asked, voice trembling. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his pocket, slowly, and held out a small, silver locket. And my heart nearly stopped. That locket was mine. Adil had given it to me on our anniversary. I lost it the night of his accident. "Where did you get that?" I whispered. The man stepped closer, lifting his hood, and for one split second, my world spun. He looked exactly like Adil. Same eyes, same jawline, same tiny scar under his lip, but older, tired, haunted. I gasped, stumbling backward. No, this can't be." He raised his hands. "Sarah, listen." I cut him off. "You're dead. I buried you." "I know," he said quietly. "And I'm sorry you had to." I wanted to scream, cry, run, but I couldn't move. My body was frozen between fear and disbelief. "Adil, how? Why?" My voice broke. He looked around nervously. "I don't have much time. They're watching us even now." "Who's watching us?" I demanded. He hesitated, then said something that shattered my reality. "The people you think are protecting you, the police, my mother, even Hina, they're part of it." My stomach dropped. "What are you talking about?" He sighed, rubbing his face. "I was never just a consultant, Sarah. I worked for an internal investigation team. We traced money laundering networks inside Citibank. But it wasn't just the bank. It went higher, politicians, businessmen, even police officers. And when I got too close, they tried to kill me." He looked straight into my eyes. "They blew up my car to make it look like an accident." I stared at him, shaking my head. "You could have told me. You let me mourn you." "I couldn't," he said sharply. "If they knew I was alive, they'd come for you next." My eyes filled with tears. "So you just disappeared? Let me bury an empty coffin?" His voice cracked. "It was the only way to keep you safe." I turned away, wiping my tears. "You don't get to decide what's safe for me, Adil. You don't get to vanish and then come back like this." He took a step closer. "I know you're angry. You have every right. But you need to listen. They know you've been digging around. The moment you opened that laptop, they marked you as a threat." I remembered the warehouse, the photos, the words, "Target, Sarah Adil." My knees went weak. "So it's true," I whispered. "They're after me." He nodded. "You have to leave town. Tonight." I shook my head. "No. I'm not running. I want the truth." His eyes softened. "You always did." For a moment, silence hung between us, filled with everything we'd lost. Then, faint headlights appeared in the distance. Adil froze. "They found me." Before I could speak, he grabbed my shoulders. "Go back to the motel. Don't answer any calls. Don't trust anyone, not even Emily." "What?" "Emily," I whispered. "Why?" But before he could explain, a gunshot echoed through the night. Adil pushed me to the ground, shouting, "Run." I crawled behind a shipping crate. Heart-pounding .2 black SUVs screeched to stop. Men in dark jackets poured out, armed. Adil fired back, shouting something I couldn't hear. Then another shot, and another. I wanted to scream his name, but my voice died in my throat. By the time I dared to look again, the pier was empty, and Adil, and men. Just blood on the wooden floor and my silver locket glinting in the moonlight. I picked it up with trembling hands. Inside was a tiny folded note. "If I don't make it back, go to the place where we first met. The truth begins there." I held it to my chest and sobbed for love, for loss, for the cruel irony of finding him only to lose him again. The night I lost Adil for the second time, something inside me died too, but the note he left, "Go to the place where we first met," burned in my mind like a whisper from the grave. The next morning, I drove straight to that place at a small coffee shop on Maple Street, the same one where he once spilled his drink on me and apologized so many times that we both ended up laughing. That was where everything had started. Maybe it was where it had to end. When I walked in, the barista looked up and smiled faintly. "Haven't seen you in years." I forced a small smile back. I'm looking for something. Or someone. I sat at our old table. The same spot near the window. The same sunlight spilling through. For a moment, I could almost feel him sitting across from me. Warm, alive, teasing me about how I took my coffee. But then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I froze. Hands trembling, I opened the message. Look under the table. My pulse raced. I leaned down there. Taped under the wooden tabletop was a small black USB drive. I snatched it, heart pounding, and rushed out of the cafe. Back at the motel, I plugged the drive into my laptop. A folder opened instantly. For Sarah. Inside was a video. I clicked play. The screen flickered, and there he was, Adil, his face tired but his eyes calm, almost peaceful. If you're watching this, Sarah, he began softly, it means I didn't make it back. I covered my mouth, tears already streaming. I never wanted to lie to you, but I had no choice. The people I worked for, they were supposed to stop corruption. But the truth is, they became part of it. When I tried to expose them, they turned on me. The only way to survive was to die. He looked down, hesitated. There's something else I have to tell you. Someone close to you, someone you trust, isn't who you think. He paused, then said it. Emily works for them. I gasped. No, she was assigned to watch you after my death, to make sure you didn't start asking questions. But I think she grew to care about you. Maybe that's why you're still alive. Trust her carefully, Sarah. She'll be your key or your end. The screen went black. I sat frozen. The friend who held me while I cried, the one who traced the number, comforted me, listened to my every word, was part of the lie. I barely had time to think when I heard a knock at the door. 3 sharp knocks. My heart stopped. Sarah, it's me. Emily's voice. I grabbed the USB and slipped it into my pocket before opening the door. Emily stood there, calm, but her eyes tired, sad, almost apologetic. Can I come in? She asked softly. I stepped aside without answering. She closed the door and looked at me. You saw the video, didn't you? My throat tightened. Then it's true. She nodded slowly. Yes. I wanted to scream, hit her, run, but I just stood there. I was supposed to keep you quiet, she said. After Adil's death, they wanted to make sure you didn't reopen his case. But when I saw you grieving, when I saw how much you loved him, I couldn't do it. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, voice shaking. Because they were watching me too, she said. Sarah, Adil gave his life to expose them. He sent me the evidence before he died. It's in that USB. If you release it, you'll destroy them, but they'll come for you next. I stared at her, tears burning my eyes. Then what am I supposed to do? Just hide forever? She looked down. No. You finish what he started. That night, I drove to a nearby library that stayed open 24 hours. I used a public computer, uploaded the files Adil had collected, and sent them to every major news outlet, every government watchdog email I could find. IT took less than an hour. The files were out. The truth was no longer buried. BY Dawn, it was already on the news. Corruption network exposed. Officials, bank executives, and law enforcement linked. Names. Faces. Evidence. Everything. Adil's voice echoed in my mind. Sometimes you have to die to make people finally listen. Days later, I stood by his grave again. And oh, rain this time. Just the quiet hum of the wind and the warmth of morning light. I placed the locket, the one he'd left me, back on the stone. I did it, Adil. I whispered. It's over. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel fear. Only peace. Behind me, footsteps approached. It was Emily. She looked tired, but there was a faint smile on her face. They're gone, she said quietly. Every one of them. You did it. No, I said softly, looking at his name engraved on the stone. We did. For a moment, silence filled the air. Heavy, beautiful, final. Then Emily handed me an envelope. He left this too. I was told to give it to you when it was all over. Inside was a single note, written in Adil's handwriting. Love survives everything, even the lies that try to destroy it. I smiled through tears, because somehow, even in death, he had kept his promise to protect me. Speech balloon moral of this part, and story: true love doesn't end with loss. It becomes strength, the kind that faces truth, fights darkness, and keeps believing, even when everything else fades away.